Here's the introduction I used then, and it's still appropriate. I am not an expert on aging, but I used to be. 30 years ago, I worked with frail elders, and now all of a sudden, I are one. I was certified in gerontology, the study of aging, and now I'm just certifiable. 3 things, and then you can expand and expound on them. Mark and I have a new hobby, and that is collecting medical specialists for our pieces parts. We're stringing them like beads. The pace of this has picked up recently both by choice and by gravity. The parts are wearing out, but there are also issues of routine maintenance. Now, the new guidelines for mammograms are that after age 74, you don't need a mammogram. Do you stop being a woman at 74? Do you stop changing the oil in your car when it turns 20? No. If you're still here, you need routine maintenance. Same with gynae issues, and gentlemen, same for the issues that you have as well. Parts are parts. Boys are fancy too. Now that's a takeoff on a song that Mr. Rogers wrote called Girls Are Fancy Too. Secondly, I wasn't aware then that I know now that many medical choices present us with a real fork in the road. The choice may be to take a medication, have a treatment, have a surgery. Following that road may lead to a longer life with side effects that are difficult or disabling, or living a shorter life feeling better. I didn't know this 30 years ago. I wish I had. I think I could have been more help to my patients because it's a real thing. Mark's grandmother at 93 decided that the blood pressure medication she was on made her feel so miserable that she decided to stop it. It was an eyes-open decision, fully informed. 3 weeks later, she had a debilitating stroke, and she did not survive it. But it was her choice. And as we're facing these things as time goes on, it's tricky. So that's item number 2. We're not going to talk about cognitive issues today. That's for another day. Lastly, I do want to talk about one more thing, which I think is the most important thing. The guiding theme of my reflection 4 years ago was the inverse proportion. That is, that as our physical abilities diminish, our need for spiritual depth increases. We'd better be looking for meaning and connection with each other and with the founding energy of the universe. It only makes sense as we get closer to transitioning away from this physical plane that we continue to deepen our relationship with Jesus, who teaches us how to worship and serve the Creator. That's my goal, but however you do that process of letting go and inviting in is entirely up to you. It's personal. It's private. And no one intercedes in that. No holy person on this planet is between you and the Creator. And I think that what a church community can do is allow us to witness and support each other's trials and tribulations and joys on that journey. So I'm very grateful to be here with you, to be in this group, to be part of New Covenant community and be with you through thick and thin. So to continue, Mark will pass around the microphone for your thoughts on these pressing issues. Is it here? Oh, he's ready.
No pressing thoughts?
Have you been stunned to silence. Really?
Well, Chris, I'm glad that you're getting over that trip that you took
Thank you.
with your boot. And it's wonderful to see you back here with us. And that's what I have to say.
Margaret and I were talking recently about the whole idea of, you'd better travel while you can because sooner or later you won't be able to. And it didn't occur, I don't think, to either one of us that though other people get old, we really don't. And as a result, at least I tended, I won't commit her, to think of either there's two ways of being. One is being like my mother, lying on a bed in a retirement community / nursing home, and the other is being vertical. It didn't really occur to me that though I'm still vertical, Kane notwithstanding, and Margaret is too, that my idea was that I wouldn't be able to walk in Scotland anymore. I wouldn't be able to walk in Cumbria anymore, but we could probably go to the Midlands and walk there, the Cotswolds, and walk there. Can you imagine Rudder trying to get over a stile and walk 6 or 7 miles? It didn't really occur to me. Right now, I've scaled things back and realized that, I'm still here at 84, and I'm on a cane. Right now, I hope that the brain keeps on functioning as well as it ever has, and I hope the hands keep functioning so I can play the piano. And I've gotten realistic, but only because it was forced upon me. It didn't really occur to me that being old would involve not being able to do the things that I used to do. Color me dumb, but it didn't occur.
I do remember your reflection from 4 years ago, and there were so many things that I could relate to in that one, and certainly in this one also. The point you made about having medical professionals that are on the same page as you are is so significant, I think. And I've had to shop around a little bit to find some people that I felt were that way, but one of my favorite lines that I've said to two different people is, I'm 78 and I'm not going to make a decision about doing anything else right this minute. I'm going to think about this because how important will that medication be to me in 10 years? That's not really a concern at this point. I want to feel good now. So thanks for bringing that up.
Well, I'm only 69. The problem is my body is 79. And what I'm finding is, Russ, I still haven't made up for that difference in age. So I find I continue to do things that Sally has to say, you shouldn't do that, as I climb up off the floor.
As in talking about wine, we shall have no insights before their time. Don't you find there are some things you kind of, grow into, some insights that occur to you? It's like a genetic unfolding. It wasn't relevant at the time, and suddenly it becomes relevant, like learning to live with limitations. Kathleen?
Thanks for this opportunity to think over these things again and for all the comments that we've been hearing. One of the things I'm aware of is my sense of what is my responsibility as I age, my responsibility to those around me, including my children and grandchildren. I heard a lot of language from my parents of, we don't want to be a burden to you. So I heard that, and I'm helping and witnessing, but it does throw me back to myself of what things do I wish to take care of well in advance so that my children don't have to take care of these things for me. So that's been a lot on my mind, as well as the things that you were saying about the choices you can make about your own aging process. What will you tend to medically, and what will you let take its natural course? Having had the chance also to witness things in my parents, I think that will inform my choices and add to my sense of responsibility about those things. I was thinking in a very specific way about my dad. We have a joint dental appointment coming up July 30th because I take him to any appointments he needs to go to now. So I know that one's coming up. And last year when he went, he had a significant cavity, because it's harder to take care of your teeth when you're as old as he is. And the recommendation was to have an extraction. And I asked and asked about that, and what is the way to not have anesthesia that will affect him cognitively. And the surgeon was very good about that. He said, it's going to be topical, you'll be awake, you'll hear everything, but you won't feel anything. It's what I would do for my own father. I don't want to put you all the way under because of the kind of risk taking there. But everybody recommended it, so we did it. I would not have an extraction again for my father. If he goes in July and they say, now this tooth is also compromised, let's extract it, I'll say, how long is it likely to be? You know, they were recommending it because if it gets full of pain, it's going to be really hard. You'll have to go to the emergency room. The recovery for him was beyond what they had anticipated and predicted because of other things, significant bleeding, you know, troublesome. Having gone through that experience, I would advise him not to go through that experience again. So my responsibility toward myself and toward my father, and you know, I'm aware of these things. So thank you for offering that. You know, there's choices you can make. I think we probably made the choice he wanted to make, although he was asking, do I really need to do this? And they were saying yes, because when the pain comes, it will be significant. Now when he says, do I really need to do this? We'll say, well, maybe no. I hope we don't encounter it, but everything that happens is an opportunity to learn from this experience and try to make the responsible choice as well as the compassionate choice. So thanks again for the chance to think about it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. This is so appropriate. And Kathy, what you said made me think too, what I find right now in my life, in my married life, is like this shifting between proactivity, which is getting your house in order and making sure that everything is ready, like we're kind of cleaning the house and we're getting things fixed up because A, if we're going to stay there, we need some accommodations made for aging. And B, if it's going to sell, it has to be curb ready and things like that. But on the other hand, and having medical things decided that you covered so eloquently, is those thoughts about what if, what if the next stage of a chronic illness goes here, what are we going to do, blah, and all of that, being proactive on that. But the other piece of it that is the other part of how you're tied into this planet is being present. Right? that you want to be proactive, but you also want to take time simply to be, and not to be so far ahead or in the past that you can sit on your deck and listen to the warblers or have a cup of coffee, do a crossword puzzle, being present, being part of this breathing planet this is all that we know, and the rest is mystery, right? And good to be proactive, but don't lose presence, don't lose the fact that you're a breathing entity, and it's this air that connects us with oneness, that we're all breathing together in this current reality, and the next reality, who knows?
Eat the cheesecake.
I suppose I'm the oldest person here, so I had to say something. I'm 87, and I feel okay, and I think that's probably because I swim Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I started that while I was still teaching. I had not swum earlier. I'm the worst swimmer in the pool, without question. But my excuse is everyone else I talked to there had a pool in their high school. We didn't. And so many of them were on swim teams and such, and they just glide through the water. But I'm certainly weaker, and I think sleep a little more. When my daughter from Urbana arrived a month or so ago for a visit, she said, "Where's your cane?" I said, "I don't need it to walk." "You need it for your posture." So, okay, I have to be honest. Many people have praised my posture now. They say, you're standing straight, you're not bent over. Holy cow. So it can affect more than my personal feelings. It's how other people look at me too. So I guess something about just trying to stay in good shape and watch your diet and pay more attention to things like that, and obey your children. I guess that's what I can say.
Sometimes pride does come before a fall.
Thank you, everybody. I just hit 65, that wonderful age when you say, hello, Medicare. The occurrence was mind-opening. I have been talking about, like medical issues with people that I know about, okay, how do you make choices, Medicare Advantage or traditional Medicare? Well, I'm lucky enough to be able at this stage to be on traditional. But even then, I realized that what we got to do is our systems has to measure up to the compassion and empathy that we have for our senior citizens. That's me. Oh my God, I'm officially old. But the whole thing is that I cannot imagine somebody in their late 70s or even 80s have to struggle with paying for premiums, or have to go through a system of owning a smartphone, finding out where's the best place to go, what is the cheapest cost of medication that you need to have. And that for me is just ridiculous. At some point, you have lived so far, and that is such a privilege to have you around. And that our system should say, at this stage, you have a free pass for everything, and that you should be taken care of. And here's a joy that I have last week, and that is, I have a visit from a friend of mine that I knew when I was in the Red Cross, when she was volunteering, I was volunteering. And Eileen used to live in Champaign-Urbana. She's in Chicago. She came up for a medical treatment. And she said, oh, I was supposed to take it easy, so I thought I would come over to Bloomington to have lunch with you. So I said, okay. It's always a treat to see her. And she just came back from Spain, had the treatment done, and is in the best of health. Mentally, she's able to drive back to Chicago, where she now lives. And we should all have that. We should. But not all of us do. And the thing is that our system should match up to our compassion and our respect for our more super seniors. They have a lot to offer. And so that is one of the things that we should be working towards. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the conversation today. Thank you.
One of the things I really appreciate is that we really do have choices in our medical care in this community. We have specialists. We have 2 different hospitals. I have family in Macomb, as you may know, and their hospital there has no doctor in the emergency room. Think about that. So one wonders if it's going to close. They just let the CEO and the director of nursing go, and the care has not been the best over the years. And what happens to our rural areas? You know, we're in a bubble here medically, because we can go to Springfield, we can go to Chicago, we can go to Barnes, we can go to Mayo, we can go to Peoria. We have cars and we have insurance, and we're in good shape. But there are lots of folks in the rural areas right around here who don't have that option. So just another, as we live our lives of ease, it's just another issue that impacts everybody.
One thing I've discovered to my dismay is that being 72, I'm considered old, by society and by my doctors, most importantly. I go into a doctor and they say, well, it's something that happens at your age. And so I push back and I say, if I was 40, how would you treat me differently? Would you order a test? Would you do something? And I find that they do. And sometimes they find things.
With white hair comes invisibility. Particularly to teenagers. I rest my case. Thank you all. Thanks, Mark. Now let's turn to joys and concerns. I have a concern about our speaker today, Michelle Blotzheim from Illinois